So it's interesting actually that the amount of people that have got voices but don't speak about the important things, especially online. I feel like there's such a saturation of creators, of influencers as they're so called, that don't really discuss things that maybe the everyday man is interested in. I understand that that's not their job. Their job is to entertain. Um, but it's just, yeah. I don't know if anyone else is the same. But my TikTok is literally just full of geezers just talking shit on mics, really, and it's just a bit. I feel like that sensitivity is way too high. Just geezers chatting shit about what's your favourite fucking flavour of crisps, or what's your favourite meal deal, and it's just kind of boring. But I don't know. I don't know. I graduated uni a year ago, about maybe a year and a half ago. I I graduated in 2022 in September, and then I had my graduation in January because I had to do like resits for my final assessments. I really kind of not I want to say shit housed my degree, but I could have worked a lot harder at it. Um, but it's difficult when you go to university, especially for when I was 18, I was a fetus. Like, and I'm not saying that I'm the the finished article now by any means. I'm still very naive, very young to the world. But back when I was 18, I was even more so. Um, and I went there after I turned 18 in December 2018, and then or 2017 rather, turned 18 in 2017. But yeah, I basically just started to drink, as in I just started drinking for like 6 months before I went to uni. And whilst you can be given all the advice in the world about drinking, it is kind of trial and error. And I'm still messing up with drinking now, but it's a process that you have to learn. And I really did not know what I was doing with drinking. I would get blackout drunk all the time. Um, and whilst obviously we can all sit here and joke and be like, well, that's kind of the point, it's not, you know, it's not healthy for your mental health. So I was in student accommodation, and it was like this little prison box. I hated student accommodation for the reason I just said. It felt like a prison, and I went to uni, and I was getting blackout drunk 3 4 times a week, and I never went to any of my lectures. Uni, ironically, was the least of my concerns in my first year. Um, it was drinking. I put on loads and loads of weight because of the drinking, because I wasn't exercising. I wasn't really leaving the flat for any other reason but to drink. Um, and you may wonder, what the fuck did you eat? I ate takeaways, that's it, pretty much every day. Which is also why I got on the bigger side. So I ate takeaways all the time, and I drank and got blackout drunk all the time. And you know, you, those of you that adopt the Freudian way of looking at things maybe think that I was trying to cope with something or mask something, but it was just a lot of social anxiety. Um, you know, I think that happens to a lot of people when they go to uni, is that they'll go to uni, and they won't have had to have made friends for years and years and years, because you make friends in like primary school, and then you kind of, if you stay in the same area, more likely than not, those are your boys then for life. So obviously I'd made all my friends by the time I was 18, and I hadn't had to really make new friends in um in ages. So to then I went to Cardiff, a different city that I don't know, and have to sort of fit in with everybody, not knowing what I was going to expect either. I was so naive to thinking about what uni was going to be like, and the people that would go to uni, what they'd be like. Um, and I suppose, oh, we've lost photo again. I suppose that part of the issue, well, not issue, but one of the things that I struggled with was that everyone that seemed to go to uni seemed to have changed their personality, because it's like a fresh start. I can be who I want to be. But for me, I tried that for nearly my entirety of first year, and that's also maybe why I drank quite a lot, was because it was like I was playing a character, and when you do that for so long, it becomes incredibly hollow and incredibly superficial and fake, and you start to hate yourself a little bit for it. Um, so yeah, trying to fit in with people who are all sort of designed personalities themselves was quite a challenge. I found a group and I fell in love with them, and they're still all some of my best friends now. But it's still really intimidating going into a new city that you're not used to, in a new environment you're not used to, and having to kind of, yeah, play this character alongside all these other characters that you don't know yet. Um, so naturally, then I think I started to drink more and more because of that. Um, and it was also just the freedom, when you live at home with your parents, it's kind of like if you get steaming and then you're hungover the next day, your parents are there, they're in your space, they're like, "What are you doing?" And it's kind of like it's an ordeal. Whereas in uni, you can go and get drunk and have fun and do all those things. And then when you're hungover the next day, you can just sit in your little box and nobody is going to bother you. So I guess that kind of also played into it, the lack of annoyance during the hangover. Um, but yeah, it was still quite difficult. It was. Um, and yeah, and then I moved into. I'm not going to give you a play by play of my entire time at uni because we'd be here forever. But then second year came along and there was more drinking, more blackouts, and then I was in a very unique position in terms of not many generations have had this. COVID, COVID hit whilst I was at uni, so obviously that meant that all the clubs, all the pubs, everything was shut. And for me, that was actually kind of a silver lining, because it meant that I couldn't go out and get wasted and blackout drunk all the time, and I spent a lot more time sober by myself, and it gave me plenty of time to reflect and kind of soul search, I suppose, and I think that actually helped me because now I'm 23 now. I'm about to be 24 in a month, and I don't really miss clubs at all. I never really get the itch to go to a club or a nightclub or whatever, and it might also be because like I am the worst person in the world for overstimulation. Like if the music's too loud, if the room's too crowded, if the you know if life is going too quickly for me, then I kind of shut down. So I'm a freeze, fight, flight. I'm a freeze. So um, yeah, that also maybe why I don't like going clubbing as much. But the drinking culture in uni is rough, man. Like, it's if anyone who's thinking of going to uni, I'm not trying to put you off it at all, but you do need to be prepared. Especially, I wasn't even in any societies, and I drank a lot, um, because it's kind of the only way you're told you can make friends when you're that age. You're like, oh, I'm gonna go to uni in I don't know, in London or Nottingham or Birmingham or Manchester, where it's full of clubs and pubs and drinking is part of the culture. So then you kind of feel like you have to. And I'm not saying that anybody forced me to drink. It's kind of a systematic, not issue, but it's a symptom of the system. It's not like people coming into my room saying you've got to drink, you've got to drink. But naturally, you do. You drink an awful lot. Um, and again, if you're fine with alcohol, then by all means crack on. But as someone who has always struggled with drinking alcohol, coping with I wouldn't say I'm an alcoholic, but I wouldn't say that I'm in control of my drinking once I've had a drink. And yeah, it's just something to be wary of if you're going to uni. But anyway, I more want to talk about after uni. So you graduated, you got this degree finally. You've worked 3, 4, 5 years to get this piece of paper that says you are a graduate, you are a qualified, you know, whatever, and you've got a bachelor's degree in this. So mine was in media, culture, and journalism. So naturally, I was like, start a podcast. But yeah, life after uni's been interesting for me because a few of my friends, not that I'm trying to, everyone's different obviously, but my friends a few of them got like good, well-paying, like not office jobs, but like industry jobs straight away. I didn't. I went into hospitality because it was the easiest thing to apply for at the time, and I just needed money. Um, and I was like, oh, I'll get a job in the media um, at some point, or I'll get do this at some point. That classic, I'll do it tomorrow. But I've been in hospitality for a year now, so it's been a little bit different for me because first of all, I'm not used to that routine of 9 to 5, Monday to Friday, 8-hour work days. You come home, you play football on Tuesdays, you go to the gym on Wednesdays. I don't know, you go out and get drunk on Friday and Saturday because normally on Fridays and Saturdays I'm working. I'm there at the restaurant till like 11, 12 at night, and then I just go home. Um, and that can be quite lonely in itself, working in hospitality, because you're working when everyone else is socializing, and then when everyone else is socializing, you're working. So when you get like a Friday or a Saturday night off, it's like a fucking godsend, and you tend to like tonight's Friday. I'm going out with the boys later. Um, but yeah, you can get I get quite lonely, I think, and I get quite in my own head because when you have a lot of time to, by yourself, you just tend to overthink things. But anyway, so yeah, this year I started working at this restaurant. When did I start working at this restaurant? October 2022, I think it was. October. Um, and yeah, it's weird. It's really strange being out of education. It's really strange because I same as everyone else who would have gone to uni, I've been in education, permanent full-time education for my entire life. Primary school, secondary school, sixth form, college, university. Um, so I was in the education system. I don't remember not being in the education system. The last time I was not in the education system, I was learning to speak. You know what I mean? I was learning to walk. So um, yeah, it's strange being out of full time education, and it may sound obvious, but it's almost like your life has been scripted up to that point. It's like, right, so I'm going to make friends and learn how to count and read and write in primary school, and then I go to secondary school. It's like, right, now I'm going to pick my options. So I'm going to pick the subjects I'm going to do at GCSE, and then work from there basically, and then I work really hard on my GCSEs. So then I'm qualified to go to sixth form. I get to sixth form, and I know that my objective is I've got to work really hard to get my AS levels, so I can stay on the course for another year, get my A levels, and that will qualify me then to go to university. So again, there's that sort of consistent goal, I suppose. And then when you get to university, it's 3 years of working towards getting a degree, and the degree allegedly is there to qualify you for a job, or to qualify you for the industry you want to work in. But then when you finish uni, it's kind of like you're by yourself. Then there's no teachers, there's no deadlines, there's no exams, there's no timetable. There's nothing that you really have to work towards. Now, before I made myself sound like even more of a Tory, um, I sorry, I threw myself off there with a Tory comment because I'm not a Tory. Um, um, but yeah, before you all jump down my throats, I know that money is the thing that you work for, right? Money is freedom. Money doesn't buy happiness, but it helps. So you work really hard and get promotions and get a really good job, so then you can earn lots of money and you can have nice things. You can pay your bills, you can pay your rent, you can get a mortgage on a house, you can get married, you can have a couple of children, and then the cycle continues, right? That's life in a nutshell. I'll give you that one for free. But in terms of like fulfillment, it's not something that was ever really discussed. It's not discussed at school, to be honest. It's not something that's discussed at uni. It's not something that's discussed at sixth form, and it's something that I think people need to be more aware of, because if you're sort of taught, which I was for years and years and years, it's now a habitual thing, is that you work for success. Success is the only thing you work to get a good grade in the exam, or for me, it was just to pass the exam because I'm not that intelligent. But you work really hard to find success, right? But what is success without fulfillment? Especially now, I'm finding after university, it's that's the golden ticket, is to find what fulfills you. And I've kind of that's kind of what I have taken from my year out of uni and my first year out of education, is that I'm always looking for ways to fulfill myself, but it doesn't mean that I always find them, and that's fine. But it's just without that mechanism of doing an exam or writing an essay to get validations from my peers, which in layman's term is success, right? That's validation from your peers is what success is. Um, yeah, so when I was out of uni, that paradigm has now changed. There's no teacher on my shoulder going, "Oh, well done, James, you spelt that correctly," or "Well done, James, that essay is really interesting." It's finding self fulfillment now. It's about finding what makes you tick outside of education, which is difficult. I've found it quite difficult because I can't help but compare myself to people all the time. It's a natural human instinct to compare yourself to others. That's how, as a species, you find success, because, you know, if I see fucking John over the road who's got a nicer car than me, that's going to motivate me to work harder than him to get just as nice of a car, if not nicer. And I look at all my friends, and they're kind of, on good money or decent money, which is the main metric for success at our age. And I'm on my just above minimum wage, hourly contracted work, and it does get a little bit like, oh, what are you doing? What are you doing? And I don't have an answer for that. If you're going into hospitality for a year after uni, that's fine. I found it quite, not liberating, but at university, and again, I'm not trying to put anybody off going to university, but at university, it's a lot of pressure, mainly from yourself, but also, your lecturers will be like, you need to get this and you need to get this done, there's a deadline for this. And it is like a constant battle in your brain, because you've always got that voice in the back of your head that's going, well, you could go out and get drunk tonight, or you could get this essay done. And then obviously you go out and get drunk, and then you procrastinate doing the essay, and it all boils up to some kind of, like, not panic attack, but mental crisis is what I'd probably call it. So yeah, there's this constant pressure at university, because, like I said, you're dealing with having to socially compete and then also having to academically compete, and both those things are a lot to handle. Especially, like, I can only speak from my own perspective. For somebody like me, who's a lazy fucking idiot, right? Socially competing and academically competing are not things that I would ever choose to do, but uni, you kind of have to. So yeah, coming out of uni, I kind of was like, right, I don't want to put an awful lot of pressure on myself because of the pressure that I felt in the last few years. So it depends on the mindset, I suppose, you go looking for. But yeah, there's definitely an element of relaxation after you've finished uni. Again, it depends if you've got your shit right. If you've got, like, I've got one friend, he's known what he's wanted to do for ages and ages and ages, and he went out and did it. He knows the industry he wants to work in. He got a good job in that industry, and now he's smashing it. And that's, he's always had that plan. But for me, I have no idea what I want to do. I have no idea what career I want to do, what job I want to get into for the next 60 years of my life. So I think it's quite nice to not go into the post-uni time with a mindset of, I have to get this done by then, I have to be doing this by then, I have to, because you're just creating unrealistic milestones for yourself, which inevitably aren't going to work. I need to get a job that's going to pay me 30 grand a year, or otherwise this year is going to be a complete failure. It's like, absolutely not. Absolutely not. You just need to take every day as it comes, Every day has to be treated as a new mini project. And it's fine if you don't know what you want to do. There is nothing wrong with that. Some people get to 60, 70 years old and they never find out what they want to do, which sounds a bit scary, I know. But like I said, you can't put too much pressure on yourself after uni because again, you've worked really hard to get this degree. That degree's not going anywhere. That degree is yours forever. So you've always got this qualification, which you know, if you want to get into that industry, it's not like it's a timed opportunity. So you can take it easy for a little bit. You can take it easy, of course you can. Oh, um, but yeah, post uni's a weird one. It is a weird one. Like my family are always like, "Oh, so what are you doing then? What's next? What are your plans?" And there's just so many things you have to manage. Like I'm trying to move out of my dad's place at the moment to move in with my mate from uni, and that in itself is a massive task because, as you can imagine, I'm on just above minimum wage, and I'm working hourly at a restaurant waiting tables. It's not what I want to do, of course it's not, but that doesn't pay much money. So to be able to afford to move out, I need to find myself a job that pays enough, that pays enough so I can pay rent and whatever else. Um, but then what if it's a job that I don't like? What if it's a job that I absolutely hate? People go, oh, well, you can always quit. Well, no, you can't quit if you need that job to pay your bills. So again, realistically, I probably end up having to work a job that I don't like. That's just the reality of it. Um, but yeah, so I'm managing trying to move out, and then it's also trying to manage your own mental health and well-being. Not to sound like a fucking snowflake, but it is important. It is important in 2023, and that in itself is a huge task because I've got all this freedom in terms of I don't pay an awful lot of rent here at my dad's house, and then um I get paid handsomely considering considering the job. I feel like I do quite well because I work a lot of hours and I've got all this freedom to drink and to have fun and whatever, but that takes its toll. Like for example, look at tonight. I drank Wednesday, Thursday, and I'm about to drink again on Friday. And then after those cycles of drinking, then it kind of just the hangover lasts for like 2 or 3 days. By which point it's Monday or Tuesday, and then I've got 2 days where I'm probably going to be in work, and then the cycle continues. And yeah, I'm not saying anything that no one's heard before. Like it's obviously obvious shit, but it's just what's going on in my head, to be honest, guys. Um, oh, um, what other observations are there from post uni? What do I miss about university? I certainly miss the social aspect because, as I said earlier, um, there is a lot of social competing, but once you kind of found your friendship group, it's fine. It's okay because they're your guys. And I miss living in a big house. I lived in a house of 10, then I lived in a house of 8, then I lived in a house of 4, and all the same people, just less and less each time. Because I was an awful roommate. I'm joking. But I miss the social aspect of it, definitely. I miss being able to sit up until 3 o'clock in the morning chatting to my friends and talking about deep stuff. Um, and I also miss, like, I suppose you kind of. Oh, excuse me. I suppose you kind of live in an illusion when you're at university. That's what I found, at least. You live in a bit of an illusion because, um, you get the student loan, big student loan, which pays for your rent and your bills, and you've got money left over then to spend on nights out and going to the pub and food and whatever else. And you're living in this, big city, which to you, when you first stepped foot there, was once foreign. Um, and and it felt like to me it felt like that was because of me. It wasn't because of me. Like as in it felt like, oh yeah, I've moved out to Cardiff by myself and I am thriving and surviving in Cardiff. And it's actually no, the student loan's paying that for you. You have a fucking you know shitty 20-hour bartending job on the side, which gives you a little bit of extra cash. But it's an illusion to live in Cardiff and live that kind of life is actually incredibly difficult. And considering at uni, you don't even have to go into lectures. So I was basically doing nothing. I could do whatever I want when I wanted, get paid for it, and live in a big city with my best friends. Like on paper, it was great. Um, but I also think I managed it maybe not the right way. Um, because I kind of was just like constantly drinking and drinking and drinking and procrastinating, and it meant that I didn't get amazing grades at uni because I was lazy. And then obviously, when you drink so much, you kind of get into a depressive state. Because I think I was drinking not in my last year, but in my first year, I was drinking on such a regular basis that I'd convinced myself that that was just me, and that it wasn't the alcohol that made me feel depressed or anxious in the next day. It was just I've got depression or anxiety, which is like such a fucking like trope of my generation, is the self-diagnosis with mental illness bullshit. Um, but I think I managed it wrong personally. I think I struggled a lot to grow up because I didn't really need to. I could go get wasted, not go into my lectures, order a takeaway, spend the entire day playing FIFA. Fucking hell, what's going on outside? And then, yeah, get wasted, not go into my lecture, order a takeaway, play FIFA all day, wake up the next day feeling refreshed because I hadn't drank, so I was so hungover the day before, and then repeat the cycle. And I feel like a lot of guys and girls fall into that cycle quite easily. Um, but yeah, post uni, I don't feel like that anymore. I feel like I'm more self aware after university, and maybe that is because of university. But I feel more like I know myself a lot more after uni. Um, and now if I'm like hungover for whatever reason, well, because I drank, if I'm hungover, then I know that I feel depressed because I'm hungover. It's not because I've got depression. Um, but yeah, I feel like I've made uni out to sound terrible. It's not at all. Like again, it just depends on the sort of person you are. Like tell you what, the people who are suited the best to uni are the sort of people that can't sit still. Now, what I mean by that is people who constantly get their shit sorted and done proactively, like that, can manage to do work 3 jobs, have 4 different friendship groups, cook beautiful food, only have 3 beers and then stop. Don't smoke cigarettes except for socially. Like those are the people that thrive in uni. But for me, who, I grew up with an addict in my house. I kind of, I kind of feel like I had a predisposition to addiction, and because I was an only child as well, I never really had to share anything, and it meant that I got quite spoiled and selfish. Shock. But it meant then that with like alcohol, cigarette, I just indulged way too much, and I did in uni. It was like a takeaway every day. It was like I'm gonna rinse this until I'm sick of it, and I did get sick of it, but I got sick really. But yeah, uni's great. Uni is really fun. Like it grew me up. Um, and it allows you to go and explore a new city and live independently, and and it introduces you to people from all around the country or the globe, in fact, and you're exposed to this entire new world, and you do find a new person in yourself, but it takes a long time for that person to for you to get used to that person. You know what I mean? um, but I think that there's also a toxic side to uni which people don't really talk about as much, and it can be very lonely, especially for men. It can be very lonely and very isolating in student accommodation, especially. Like it is like being in a prison cell for me, at least. But again, that's also because I didn't leave the prison cell. So if you get out and socialize every day and go for runs and walks and things like that, then I don't think you'll find you have the same experience as me. Um, but yeah, like I said, I think after uni it's more about fulfillment. It's about finding out what makes you tick, what makes you happy, I suppose. Whereas at uni, you're kind of like I said, you've got this goal to work towards, so you don't need to worry about being fulfilled or happy because you've got an essay due in on Friday, and it's like now with none of those pressures, those academic pressures, it leaves you with time and space to ponder what it is that you want to pursue. Um, and I'm still figuring that out. Really, I enjoy my job, but it's not sustainable. I don't think I could do it forever. And yeah, like they say, your 20s is for trying new things, right? But they don't also say, oh yeah, so go and live in a foreign country, go and um, go and work for free for 7 years. Go and become a poet. Go and learn how tea is made. Go and do all these different things when actually that's not the case. That's such a black and white view of it. It's no, in your 20s, realistically, you're going to be quite broke, right? You're going to be overqualified for a lot of jobs that you'll get instantly. So you have to apply for these long-term jobs, which most of the time you're going to get rejected from. So you're barely going to have any money, and you're going to have to go and try and experience the world. And it's just like, no, fucking people who say that just annoy me, because it's like, yes, go and try new things, but let's not pretend that like trying to try new things takes up a lot more time than just trying new things. But then I'm also, an individual. I might be different to everybody else. Maybe I think that way, but people don't. I don't know, man. But yeah, it's definitely food for thought. Definitely food for thought.